Namo Buddhaya. This is a special inner guide video that is dedicated to the little daughter who had asked a question from us. She had mentioned in her comment that she has a big problem with laziness, and also her exams are near, so she is in a big stress. And also, she said that she no longer finds a value in her life. I think most of us have these kind of questions. Okay, let's start with the first question. She had said that she has a big problem with laziness and sleepiness. I know that getting up early in the morning and sitting for studying and doing the studies is a little bit of a hard thing to do, when you are a student especially. First of all, let me introduce you to the inspiring words of the Supreme Buddha. Supreme Buddha said, Sukharani asadhuni attano ahitani cha. It is very easy to do evil things, the things that brings the unhappiness or the suffering or the regret to our life. Supreme Buddha said, Yangve hitangcha sadhungcha tangve paramadukkaram. If there is something that brings us the happiness to our life, if there is something that makes us proud about ourselves, doing such things is a really, really hard thing. So, getting up early in the morning and sitting for studies is a hard thing to do. Why? Because if you do that, it brings the happiness to your life. Right? Studying, educating yourself brings the happiness to your life. So, most of the people, they find hard to get up early in the morning. Now, we all like that fluffy and comfy and warm feeling that we feel on the bed in the morning. So, when you open your eyes in the morning, your mind says, just stay another 5 minutes. And that's the point that you are making the mistake. Your mind, you listen to your mind, you listen to what your mind says. When your mind says, just stay another 5 minutes more, it's okay, it's not a problem. That is where you make the mistake. And that 5 minutes will last long for another hour. And when you get up after an hour, your mind, the same mind that told you to stay on the bed for 5 minutes will complain you. You are not studying. It will say that you are going to fail the exams. That is how our mind lies us. That is how our mind tricks us. So when you get up in the morning, when you open your eyes in the morning, right? When your mind says to stay on the bed for another 5 more minutes, do not listen to that. Do not listen to that lie. Get up and refresh yourself and start studying early in the morning. There's a great quote that I remember all times when, even in my life, when I'm going through hard times, I remember this quote. It says, it is a wonderful quote. It says, if you do what is easy today, your life will be hard tomorrow. Let me repeat that again. If you do what is easy today, your life will be hard tomorrow. But if you do what is hard today, your life will be easy tomorrow. So getting up early in the morning is a hard thing. But if you do that hard thing, remember, your life will be easy. But if you stay on the bed for another 5 minutes, doing what is easy, your life will be hard tomorrow. So get up early in the morning. Do you know how long you're going to feel the hardship of getting up early in the morning? Do you know for how many days that you are going to find very hard to get up in the morning? Only for 3 weeks. If you get up early in the morning and start studying in the morning for three weeks, remember, only for 3 weeks, it will make a habit to your life. And after that 3 weeks, you will never find it hard. It will become a habit. You don't want to think about it again and again. It will become a day-to-day practice. So do that, although you feel hard, for 3 weeks and see the result. That is the answer for first question. And let's go for the second question. She had mentioned that her exams are near, so she's stressed and she's unfocused. Her mind is clumsy. So what is the answer for this? Remember, now when the exams are near, it is the normal nature that we feel frustrated, distracted, unfocused, and clumsy. That is the normal nature, right? So I need you to do one thing. This is a special thing to do when the exams are near, right? Focus on one thing at a time to study, right? Focus on a single thing at a time to study. Study for 20 minutes, right? When you're studying, just forget all the other things that you have to study. Now, normally when we start to study, we find that there are so many things that we have to study in a short time. Now, the more you remember these things, the more your mind will regret. The more your mind will start to become clumsy. So I need you to do this thing. When you're studying, just forget about all the other things that you have to study. Just think, now I have to study only this thing. There's nothing that I have to study more. Just focus on that and study for maybe 20 minutes and take a break for 5 minutes. This is called the Pomodoro technique. I think it is well known. So study for 20 minutes, well focused, and give yourself a little bit of a break for 5 minutes and start studying again. And focus on the special points in your studies, right? And now, when the exams are near, if you haven't studied, right? So I know you're regretting in your mind. So, if you didn't make through the exam, I'm using the word if, right? If you did not make through your exams, I need you to do this thing. What is that? Never, ever give up studying. At some point in our life, we will lose our balance and we will fall down. We will go through hard situations, right? We will fall down in our life, but get back up and try again. You will fall for the first time. You will fall for the second time. You will fall for the fourth time, fifth time. Though you fall for the 1,000,000th time, what you have to do is get back up and try again. As humans, we should never give up in our studies and in our success. So, if you did not make through the exams, do not quit your studies. Do not quit your education. Right? Get back up and try again, and one day, you will find that you have been success. And let's go for the third question. She said that she no longer finds a value in her life. Remember, as humans, we are born to this world to add a value to our life. When we come to this world, we brought nothing. We had nothing. We knew nothing. But as humans, we have to add a value to this life. Right? Study well, start loving others, start loving your parents. And if you cannot study for yourself, right? If you cannot work for yourself, work for the people who loves you. There are so many people around you who loves you, who have dedicated their life on behalf of yourself. Right? They are your parents. Try to bring a smile to your parents' face saying, "Mom, Dad, I made it." One day you should do this. So if you did not give up, you will be success one day. But if you quit, if you give up your education, if you give up in your goals, it is very sure you will fail. Therefore, never give up. Work for yourself as well as work for the people who love you most. Right? Bring a smile to their face. Right? The only thing that you have to do in your position as a child, as a student, is to study only. You don't want to earn money. You don't want to look after the babies. There's nothing to do. Only thing that you have to do is to study. Do that. But never give up. That is what I have to share in this special video. So I wish that daughter and all of you have the same questions in your life. May you be well and happy. May you live long. May you live a happy life. And may all of your dreams come true. And may all of you realize the Four Noble Truths in this Gautam Buddha's dispensation. Today, this special video is entirely dedicated to those who are studying. Now, one of the most frequent questions that I get asked in the comment section is, "Bhante, I'm studying and my mind is distracting all the time, and how to focus on studying?" Well, today, let's discuss about this distracting mind, okay? And also, I'm going to share with you a few tips where you can practice while you're studying to help to focus your mind on studying. So, without any further ado, let's get into these tips. Now, while you're studying, have you ever found yourself daydreaming? Right? Sometimes we sit down to study and we just turn our book on and we start to study, and after a few minutes, what happens to us? We just get distracted, right? We just start daydreaming. Trust me, when I was studying, when I was at home, before I became a monk, when I was studying, I used to daydream a lot, okay? I used to get distracted a lot. So, it is very difficult. I know it is very difficult and it's very hard to focus our mind to studies because we live in a world where there are many distractions. So, what we can do about this distracting mind and how can we focus on our mind on our studies? Well, there are certain things that you can do. And one of them is, the first thing that I want to share with you today is that I would like you to write down what you become distracted. Okay? This is something that you get heard rarely. Okay? So let's say like this. You're studying. Okay? And you turn over the book and you started studying. And sometimes the same thing happens. What is that? Daydreaming. Okay? It's okay. Let it happen. Okay? Once you know and once you identify that you are daydreaming, and once you found yourself that you are daydreaming, what do you have to do? I want you to take a pen or a pencil and take a blank paper and write down that thought that you became distracted. For an example, while you're studying, sometimes we used to think about foods a lot, okay? So what do you have to do? Write it down. I got distracted about thinking about biryani, okay? Something like that. Or sometimes we become distracted thinking about the past experiences, the things that happened in the past, okay? So what do you have to do? Write it down. Jot it down on a paper. Now, why should we do this? Because most of the time, we are not aware of what we are thinking. When we become distracted, and when we daydream, we don't know what is going in our mind. We don't know what we are thinking. We just jump into that stream of thoughts and we just flow down. So what do you have to do? When you write that thought in a piece of paper, right? It's like you're identifying that thought, right? You code that thought and you identify, okay, this is what makes me distracted. This is what makes me unfocused on studies. Okay. Then there's a physical thing that you can see, and you can see that it is physically that you are distracting. Okay, so what do you have to do? Write down your distracting thoughts. Okay, then you have a good understanding. When you do this for a little while, what can you do is, and what can you find is, there's a pattern of distractions. That means we become distracted for few thoughts, and they are the thoughts that come again and again to our mind. So what do you have to do? Write it down. That is the first tip. Second tip, identify what makes you distracted, and then be brave enough to remove all those distractions. There are triggers that makes us distracted. Let's say, for an example, our mobile phone. Okay, let's say you're studying and there's the mobile phone on the desk. Each and every time it rings a notification, what do? We take our mobile phone and we check what it is. Okay, so a mobile phone is not distracting you. It is a trigger for your distraction. Trigger is just a trigger until you give the power to that to make you distracted. So what do you have to do? Physically, by force, sometimes it's very difficult, okay? You have to be brave enough to do that. Remove that distraction. If your mobile phone is distracting you, be brave enough to remove it, okay? If your laptop or your any technical device that is distracting you, be brave enough to remove it. And sometimes, right, sometimes we have to use this technology. Okay, sometimes you have to use your laptop to study. So what do you have to do? While you're doing it, be much more disciplined and much more aware of what you're thinking and what you're doing inside it. Okay, use it only for what you want. Okay, while studying. I'm not saying that other times you can use it whatever in whatever way you want, but use it only for what you want while studying. So the second tip is to be brave enough to remove the distractions. Okay, if something is distracting you, you have to remove it. Tip number 3, do not study for long hours continuously. I can still remember when I was studying and when I was at home, I can still remember I used to make these schedules and timetables to study for 2 or 3 hours continuously. You know, it is not productive. So what you can do? You can study for short time intervals. Maybe like, let's say 25 minutes. Okay, you can use 25 minutes to study, okay, and then take a little bit of a break, and then again study. And while you're studying, what you have to do, you have to jot down and you have to write down all those distracting thoughts. Okay, keep that in your mind. So do not study for long hours. Just take a break and refresh yourself, and then come back again to studies. That is another thing that you can do. And here comes the final tip, the tip number 4. It is the most important thing and the most awesome thing is to practice a little bit of meditation before every study session. Okay? Before every study session, let's say you studied for 25 minutes and you took an interval, and then you came back to study. Now, while you are taking that break, sometimes you do certain things to make your mind busy even more. So what we have to do? We have to just settle down and make our mind to focus. To do that, you can use a little bit of meditation before every study session. Just sit down on your chair and just close your eyes. And the easiest thing that you can do is to watch this flow of breath, in breath and out breath. When you practice this calming meditations like breathing meditation, that is one of the easiest meditations that you can do. When you focus your mind on this in-breath and out-breath, it helps you to become calm and settle down. Then your mind will get ready to study. Okay? So these are the few things and few easy things that you can do and practice while studying. Okay? So use these things and use these tips to study and make your studies a more productive one. Have you ever wondered why some people are so good and so clever in what they're doing? Maybe there are some people who are studying with you, maybe some people who are in your workspace. There are some people who are very clever and very capable of doing in their profession. Okay, they are very successful in it. What is the reason behind this? What is the reason behind this success? Well, if we can define success in one word, the only word that we can find is consistency. This quality is very important for all of our lives. Not only in your day-to-day life, not only in your career, but also in your spiritual path. Okay? If someone is practicing spiritual path, consistency is the key for success. Okay? Now, what do you mean by consistency? Consistency means doing something every single day or without stopping for a long period of time until you get better at it. Now, if we look at our life, there are some bad habits we all have in our life. Okay? Why we are so good at these bad things? The reason behind why we are so good at bad things is we have done it for a long period of time every single day without stopping. That is the nature of our mind, and that is the nature of our life. Whether it is good or bad, if we are doing it consistently, or if we are doing it over and over for a long period of time, we get so good at it. That is why we are so good at distractions. That is why we are so good at anger, jealousy, and all these evil thoughts in our mind, because we have practiced it over a long period of time. Now, Buddha said, if you need to cultivate wholesome thoughts, and if you need to do, and if you need to be successful in your spiritual life, what are you going to do? You have to cultivate and you have to practice these wholesome thoughts or wholesome activities for a long period of time without stopping. Okay? Every single day. Okay? Let's keep the spiritual life for a part. Let's take the studying and education. Now, if you're someone who is studying and if you're someone who is focused on education, what do you have to do? You have to keep studying. Okay? Sometimes you find very difficult and very challenging to keep studying. Why? Because our mind gets distracted. Okay? Sometimes we lose our focus. Now, in that time, so many of people, they complain that I cannot study. Okay? I'm distracting always. What is the reason? Why? What is the problem with me? Well, the only problem behind the failure or the unsuccessfulness is lack of consistency. Sometimes we try to study and then we feel tired and we feel less focused and then we give up. Okay? And then after maybe like 2-3 days, again we try to study and then again the same thing happens and then we give up. Okay? In that way, you're not going to be successful. Okay? If you want to be successful in any field of your life, maybe studying, maybe in your meditations, maybe in your spiritual life, maybe in kindness, maybe cultivating compassion in your life, what do you have to do? You have to be consistent. That is the only way to be successful in anything. I can still remember when we came to become monks, okay, on the first day, our monks gave this first advice to us. That is, they said that it takes several minutes to become a monk physically. Okay? It takes a few minutes to make your body a monk. But it takes years and years, maybe lifetime, to be a monk from your mind. You will fail, you will be unsuccessful in some parts in your life, but you have to keep going. Do not ever quit. That is the first advice that we were given. So, to be good at anything, to be successful, to be happy, to be successful in your spiritual life, to practice meditations, to be good at that, what are you going to do? Keep doing it every single day. That is the thing. But there's a problem. The real problem or the real enemy for the consistency is the higher expectations. We set a lot of high expectations in our life, and when we are not able to get it, we give up. That is the only thing. Now, so many people come to me and complain that I cannot meditate for 1 hour. What is the problem with me? I cannot focus for 1 hour. Well, in the beginning, no one can do that. Okay, there may be some few lucky people in this world. Okay, they can concentrate instantly. But if you want to be good at in your meditations, in your focusing and your concentration power, what do you want to do? Keep doing it. Okay, do not set high expectations. Right? Aim for the little achievements. Maybe like you can focus and you can think like before you are starting meditation, you can think, well, if my mind became concentrated or well focused only for 1 minute, that's okay. I'm happy with that 1 minute. Okay? When you focus on that, you can easily achieve it. You can do that. When you achieve it, you feel a sense of happiness in your life. You feel like you achieved that target. So in the next day, when you meditate, maybe you can focus your mind or you can concentrate your mind for 2 minutes. Okay? So if you keep on focusing on little achievements and without having high expectations in your life in the first time, then you will be good at maintaining your consistency. Because sometimes when we don't see results, okay, when we don't get results quickly as we want, we just give up. That is the biggest problem in our minds. Okay, to be successful, you need to spend a period of time that you are not seeing the results. Okay, one day I was climbing, and in Sri Lanka we have a nice mountain where we climb to see the Buddha's footprint. Okay, that is called Adam's Peak or the Sri Pada in Sri Lanka. So once we were climbing, we could not see the mountain top. We don't know where we are going. Okay, so one monk said to me, it doesn't matter, you cannot see where you are going, but if you're clear in your next step, take that step. Okay, and if you're in the correct path, no matter how fast or slow you go, you will go to your destination that you want to go. So always remember that it doesn't matter how fast or how slow you are moving towards success. The most important thing is that whether you are going to do it every single day in the correct way or not. So remember, consistency is the key for success for anything. So keep doing what you're doing, right? Keep doing the good works that you're doing, even if you don't see the results in your life. Keep doing it, and one day I'm very sure that you will achieve your goals definitely. So keep that in your mind. May you be happy and well. No matter how good we are, no matter how talented we are, there are certain times in life we are going to make mistakes. We are going to mess things up in life. In such times, one of the most common things that we do is we hate ourselves. And this self-hatred can end up in serious situations like suicide. See how many times we say, I love you to someone. How often we say? We say it often, right? But how often we say, I love myself. I appreciate who I am. This is something that we don't do openly. See, in Buddhist practice, the first step of spreading love and kindness is to practice love and kindness or spread love and kindness to yourself. So the Buddha saw that without being filled with self-love and self-kindness, you cannot be kind to someone else. So that is why we have to learn how to be kind and how to love ourselves without hating ourselves. So from this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a few things that we have to understand and we have to practice to stop hating ourselves and to start appreciating and loving our life. Number 1, do not believe in labels. See, there are lots of labels that we have put on ourselves. For an example, your name. Your name is a label that was given by maybe your parents, and everyone start to call from that name, and it became your personality. It became who you are. Okay? Same like that, we are so good at labeling ourselves with our imperfections, with our mistakes, or with our incapabilities. But here's the thing, the more we label ourselves with our incapabilities, for example, people say to themselves like, I am a person who is being angry all the time. Okay, I'm a person who has having a weak mindset. I'm a person who is lazy all the time. Okay, I don't have any friends. I'm not getting in with friends. Okay, I cannot be with these people. So the more you label like that yourself, it becomes your personality. And that is why we should not believe in the labels that we put on ourselves. Why? Because a label or your incapabilities or your weaknesses or your mistakes are just a thought pattern. And it is always can be changed. Okay? You can always improve. And that is why we should not label ourselves with our incapabilities and our mistakes or from our weaknesses. We always have the chance to improve and to evolve. Number 2, learn to accept mistakes. Mistakes are the proof that says that we are trying in life and we are not willing to give up on ourselves. Every great person in this world has made mistakes, and they have learned from their mistakes, and that is how they evolved, and that is how they achieved the greatness. Always remember, the mistakes will never define your character unless you define your character with your mistakes. So do not let your mistakes to define your character. Always you have the chance to improve and move on and make yourself a good person and improve yourself. Believe in it. Number 3, stop criticism. This is something that is very important that we have to focus on in loving ourselves. Stop criticizing yourself. Stop criticizing others. Now here I'm not talking about the constructive criticism. I'm talking about the negative criticism. Okay? Do not criticize others and also do not criticize yourself. Okay? Why we should not criticize others to put others down? In each and every time when we criticize someone, we give the message to our mind that we are better than them. Okay? I am perfect than them. And you set standards to yourself. Most of the time, these are not realistic standards. Okay? And when we cannot live up to our own standards, what happens to us? We hate ourselves. And that is how criticism steals the self-love and the self-value. And that is why we should not criticize anyone. And number 4, believe that imperfection is beautiful. Just take a deep breath and look into this nature. Everything has that one nature that is the imperfection. From the little plant to the great mountain, everything is imperfect, right? There is no perfectly symmetrical plant in this world. There is no perfectly symmetrical mountain in this world. Everything has the imperfection. And as humans, we also imperfect human beings, okay? And also that gives the chance for us to evolve. It gives the chance for us to be more productive and be more successful. See, becoming successful and becoming happy is not a destination. It is not a perfection, right? It is always a journey. We have to keep improving ourselves. We have to keep becoming successful, becoming happy. It is a journey that we go through in this life. So when you accept the imperfections, no matter how good we are, no matter how talented we are, no matter how great we are, there will be always imperfections in life. When we accept it, we can focus our kindness and our love towards ourselves. And also, every single day, this is something that you can practice. When you wake up in the morning, just sit on the bed and think, no matter how imperfect I am, no matter what mistake that I do in my life, I'm not going to give up on myself. right? I keep improving myself. I keep making myself a good person, a happier person, and I will never let go of myself. This is not something that is called selfishness. Selfishness is expecting many unrealistic things from yourself, right? And then when you're not up to your standards, you start to hate yourself. And that is why when you truly love yourself, truly love your imperfections, and truly love who you are and accept who you are, you get the chance to improve and you get the chance to evolve. And these are the things that we have to keep in mind in order to practice the self-love and improve the self-value. So keep practicing these things and make your life happier and healthier. Namo Buddhaya. And my dear sons and daughters, today we are going to learn about the essence of Buddhism. Now you may be having a question. What is the essence of Buddhism? What did Buddha really teach to us? Well, the Buddha answers this question from three separate verses, where you can find them in Dhammapada. If you are wondering what is Dhammapada, Dhammapada is a set of verses which was originally preached by the Buddha in certain occasions due to certain incidents that happened in the Buddha's time. So we have 423 verses in Dhammapada, which are categorized into 26 chapters, and in the 14th chapter, which is known as the Buddha Vagga, which gives the meaning of the chapter of the Buddha preaches and Buddha teaches us about the essence of the advice of the Buddhas, or essence of the Buddhism. Now, first of all, in this video, I'm going to share with you the first verse, and also I'm going to make another 2 videos for the other 2 verses. So from this video, we're going to learn the first verse and the meaning of that verse. So before everything, I'm going to chant it for you. So listen closely, and after that we are going to learn the meaning of it. The verse goes like this. Sabbha papassa akaranang kusalassa upasampada sacitta pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang. Okay, let's learn the meaning of that verse. Sabbha papassa akaranang kusalassa upasampada. Let's take these 2 lines and learn the meaning. Sabbha papassa akaranang. Buddha teaches us, avoid all evil deeds, avoid all evil things from your life, and cultivate the good or the wholesome things in your life. Now, when we think about our mind, when you just think about your mind, it's very prominent, it's very clear that we have a higher sensitivity to negative things, or they're called the evil things like anger, jealous, hatred, selfishness, laziness, ego. All those evil things are very easy to cultivate through this mind, in this mind. Is that true? Yes, that is true, right? It's very easy to get angry. It is very easy to feel jealous. It is very easy to hate someone. So Buddha says, to avoid all evil things, what you have to do, cultivate more wholesome things in your mind. For an example, if you get angry all the time, little by little, try to practice the love and kindness. Try to practice the patience in your mind. That is what Buddha says. So what you have to do to avoid evil things, you have to cultivate more good things. That is the only way that we can avoid the evil things from our mind. To avoid any kind of bad habit, the only way is to replace that bad habit with a good one. Practice something good in the time that when you are about to do an evil thing. So that is what Buddha said. To avoid all the evil things, cultivate more wholesome qualities like love and kindness, patience, tolerance, and unselfishness, compassion, dedication, courage. So when you take about these wholesome qualities, it is very hard to practice. It's very hard to have the love and kindness inside your mind for a long time. We feel angry with people. But although these things are hard and difficult to do, what we have to do is we have to practice it little by little, little by little. We will fail, we will fall, we will cry. But we should not give up. That is what Buddha said. So to avoid all the evil things and to cultivate more wholesome qualities, and also Buddha said, sacitta pariyodapana, to cleanse one's mind. Now Buddha taught us, when you get these evil thoughts, these are called the defilements, right? The greed, the hatred, and the ego, which we called the delusion. These three defilements makes our mind impure. Buddha said that the normal nature, by nature, our mind is very pure and it's very bright. But when we have this incoming defilements like greed, anger, and delusion, selfishness, what happens to our mind is it becomes impure. So to make your mind pure and cleanse it, cultivate the wholesome qualities in your life. Buddha said, Etang Buddhana Sasanang. This is the advice of the Buddhas to this world. So see how peaceful advice that the Buddha gave to this world. So everyone can practice this, right? There is no religious difference, there is no any bounds or any rules to practice this. Anyone can. We all can practice this, right? So when we practice, what happens to our life? We get happiness, right? We get that self-happiness about our life. So many people out there, they don't have that ability to be happy about themselves because they are doing these evil things. These evil things bring the sadness and the suffering and the regret to our life. So easily, the Buddha said, instead of doing evil things, try to practice something wholesome, something good. So what we all have to do, regardless of any kind of religion, we have to cultivate more good deeds and good emotions and good intentions, good thoughts inside our mind. As a result, surely we will get the happiness to our life. So do good and be good. Namo Buddhaya. N-O, no. Two simple letters, one simple word, but saying no can be the most hardest thing in life to do. Why we struggle to say no? The reason why we struggle to say no is because we have gotten used to say yes to many unimportant things in life. Okay? When we say yes to unimportant things in life, what happens to us? We miss the chance and we miss the time to say yes to the important things in life and to the things that really matters to us. Okay? And that is why we need to learn how to say no to unimportant things and how to say yes and how to be more focused on saying yes to the important things in life. Okay? So The reason why I'm doing this video is because a couple of days ago, I came across this word. When I was chanting, I came across this word in Karaniya Sutta. The Buddha says, Appakicho, do less. If you practice the Buddha's teachings, if you practice the spiritual path, or in any area of your life, you have to do less. Do not do more. Now, the society says the quite opposite thing to us. The society says that do more. The more you do, the more you achieve. Do many things as much as you can, then you will achieve. But turns out doing more will not help us to be more productive. Okay? To be more productive in what we are doing. To be more productive what really matters to in life. So that is why we have to master to say no to certain things in life and really be focused on what really matters to us. So from this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips that will help you to say no to unimportant things in life and to say yes and to be more focused on what really matters to you. Before learning how to say no to unimportant things in life, we have to understand why we say yes to unimportant things in life. The reason why we say yes to unimportant things is because of fear most of the time. Sometimes it is because of the fear of missing out. Sometimes it is the fear of letting someone down. Sometimes it is the fear of the only one to say no. Okay? Sometimes it is the fear of making the wrong decision. So that is why we say yes to unimportant things in life. And sometimes we say yes not only to the people, but also for the things in life. Okay? For an example, let's say you're studying. While you're studying, you have the mobile phone beside you. Okay? All of a sudden, you see a notification pops up on your phone. Now, you know that you're studying and you know that you have to be really focused on that. Okay? But you pick up the phone and you check what it is. Sometimes it is not necessary for you, but you check it and you say yes to that distraction. Let's say sometimes you plan to learn or to meditate in an evening. All of a sudden, you get a call from your friend and say that they ask for you to come with them to go shopping, maybe go to a party or to go to a walk. Because of fear of putting that person down or letting that someone down or to say no, we say yes to them. Okay? So when you say yes to them, sometimes we miss the chance and we miss that valuable time to be focused, to be more focused on what really matters to us. Okay? What really helps us to achieve our larger purpose in life. And that is why we have to learn how to say no correctly. So here are the few steps that you can help you to achieve that. The first step to saying no to unimportant things in life is to build a good self-awareness. Okay? You have to have a good understanding what really matters to you and why you say yes to certain things and why you say no to certain things. When you're aware of that, then you can easily say yes to important things in life and no to unimportant things in life. So before saying yes to something, just ask from yourself this question, why? Why am I saying yes to this? Okay? Before saying yes to something or to a person, just figure out why you say yes to that person or why you say yes to that thing. Okay? Before you say no to certain things, you have to figure out why you are saying no to certain things in life. For an example, let's say you need to check your mobile phone. Okay, your mind says to check your mobile phone. Before doing that, you have to ask from yourself, why? Why am I doing this? Why should I do this? When you ask from yourself that question, you become more aware of yourself. You become more aware of what you're doing. The Buddha says, before you do something or before you say something, just ask from yourself that is it helpful for me? Is this thing that I'm going to do is helpful for me or helpful for others? Is it good for me? Is it good for others? When you ask from yourself that question, and if you come to the answer that, yes, this is really worthy of saying yes, this is really worthy of saying, this is really important to me, then do it. But if you come across the answer that, no, this doesn't really matters to me, okay, it is not important to my life, then by all means, do not do it, because it steals your time, the valuable time in your life. So the first step of saying no, learning how to say no to unimportant things in life, is to build a good self-awareness. The second step of learning to say no to unimportant things in life is to build a good self-discipline. And now this is the most hardest part, because it takes a lot of courage and grit to say no. And you need to be more disciplined to say no to unimportant things in life. Because sometimes the things that we say no, we have to say no to unimportant things in life, may be the most enjoyable things in life. Okay? Let's say like we all like to enjoy in life, but sometimes those things that makes us enjoyable will not help us to be more productive. Okay, for an example, let's say you are going to study and you're planning to study, you're planning to meditate, but well, sometimes your friends ask you to come and join to a party. Okay, now you like to go to a party, but you know that the most important thing in your life is the learning process. That is what helps you to achieve more success. The most important thing in life is to build a good spiritual a strong spiritual base in your life. So then it is very difficult to say no to those things, because we fancy in doing all those things. Okay, so that is where we need the self-discipline, to be disciplined and to say no. This is what really matters to me, and I have to do it. Then you have to say no to those people politely. You can explain why you are saying no. Okay? I heard this one quote saying that learn to say no to people without explaining yourself. I would say learn to say no to people and explain why you're saying no to them. Then they can understand why you're saying no. Okay? So then they will respect your time and your values in your life. So that is why we have to learn to say no politely and correctly. The third step is to understand that your time is valuable. Time is the most valuable asset that we have in our hand. Okay? And our time on this earth is really limited. You don't have an infinite time on this earth. We have a finite time, and we have to use that limited time very well. So I would suggest, look at your time like you look at your money. Okay? So when you get money, you don't spend that money lavishly or to whichever the thing that you want. You don't put that money wherever you are. No, we become more serious, and you become more serious about your money. Same like that. Think about your time as you think about your money. Okay? Because money can be earned again, but the time cannot be earned again. You cannot take back the time. It is limited. And that is why in this limited time, you have to do the best thing that you can do. Okay? Be more serious when it comes to time. Don't waste it. Okay? It is the most valuable asset that we have. If you value time, if you respect your time, then you can say no to unimportant things, and then you can learn to say yes to what really matters in your life. Okay? So respect your time, and also respect other people's time as well. And the next step is to ask this magic question. The magic question is it really necessary? Before you say something, before you do something, before you say yes to someone or something, ask, is it really necessary? Do I really have to do it? Okay? Sometimes because we say yes to unimportant things in life is because we don't know that we don't really need it. For an example, let's say you came back home after a tired day, okay, and you say yes to social media. And you scroll through and it steals maybe 1 or 2 hours of your valuable time. In that time, there is someone that is valuable that you can do. Maybe to talk with your kids, maybe talk with your parents, maybe talk with your children. Then you can be more engaging with them and do something valuable with them. Instead of hanging out in social media and wasting that valuable time, just we can do something valuable. Before doing that, we have to ask, is it really necessary? Do I really have to do it? Then you can decide what to say no and what to say yes. Okay? So keep that in your mind. And the final step is to figure out what is really important to you, what really matters to you. Now, the most of the time, the reason why we say yes to unimportant things in life is because we haven't figured out what really matters in life. Okay, what really matters to us. So that is why if you have a good understanding what is the larger purpose of your life, what really matters to you, what is really valuable in your life, you can be more focused on that and say no to other things in life that really never helps you to achieve the larger purpose in your life. So I would suggest take a quiet time in your day to figure out what really matters to me today. What should I do, and what is the most important thing that I should do today to achieve the larger purpose of my life? In that way, you will have a good understanding what really matters in your life and the things that don't really matter in your life. And be more focused in doing those things. Sometimes it is more enjoyable doing unimportant things in life. But although it is enjoyable, although it is hard to say no to all those distractions, we have to say no to them because those are the things that prevents us engaging and achieving the larger purpose in our life. So finally, these are the tips that you can practice to say no to unimportant things and to say no to distractions in your life and to be more focused on what really matters. So finally, saying no can be really hard. I know it is really hard, but in order to achieve a happy life and a calmer life and a more disciplined life, we have to say no, and we have to learn to say no to unimportant things in life. So practice these little tips and then you'll be happy in your life. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. Today, from this video, let's talk about the benefits of practicing mindfulness and how mindfulness benefits for our daily Buddhist practice. Now, what should be practiced in Buddhism as Buddhist practice is Sila, Samadhi, and Prajna. These are the 3 practices that we practice in all through Buddhism. In whatever the state we are in, we practice these 3 practices. Sila is the virtuous behavior or moral conduct. And we've discussed about Sila in a separate video. If you haven't watched it and if you don't know what Sila is, you can watch it right here. So Sila is basically the ethical and the moral conduct, or in another word, virtuous behavior, or being disciplined by your body and by your words. So mindfulness helps us to practice Sila in a good way, in a more productive way. And also the second practice is Samadhi. Samadhi is the mental concentration, being able to be in practice the one-pointedness in our mind and to practice that tranquility in our mind. It's called the Samadhi. And final practice is Prajna. Prajna means the wisdom, understanding about the true nature of life and fully understanding about the 3 marks of existence: the anicca, the impermanence; dukkha, that's the suffering; and anatta is the non-self. So how mindfulness helps to practice these things?
First of all, let's talk about how mindfulness benefits to practice the sila. Now, sila is the virtuous behavior, as we said before. So, before talking about these things, let's learn about what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is the practice of or ability to be fully aware in this present moment with more wholesome mindset. When you practice mindfulness, it is really, really easy to practice sila. Why? Because sila is all about being disciplined from your body and from your words. So if you're mindful about your bodily actions, what you are going to do, okay, and what you are going to say, then you keep a good gatekeeper to your actions. Now, sati is often referred to as mindfulness in Buddhism, and the Buddha said that sati is like a gatekeeper to your mind, or the mindfulness is like a gatekeeper to your mind. So what does a gatekeeper do? The gatekeeper watches and recognizes what comes in or who comes in and who goes out a certain place. So practicing mindfulness is like keeping a gatekeeper to your actions and your words and your thoughts. So if you are aware of what you are doing, right, and if you know before what you are doing, and if you know what you're doing before doing, and if you know what you're saying before saying, by being mindful and by being aware, then it is very easy to control the unwholesome actions and unwholesome thoughts and unwholesome words that occurs in our life. And this helps us to be disciplined from our body, to be disciplined from our words, and will be easy to practice the virtuous behavior, and our practice of sila will be even more productive. So that is how the mindfulness helps us to practice sila. And also the second practice, how mindfulness helps us to practice samadhi, or the concentration. Now, when you take the 4 foundations of mindfulness, there are 4 foundations of mindfulness according to Buddhism. Being mindful about your body is one foundation. That's the first foundation. Second one is being mindful about your feelings. And the third one is being mindful about your mental actions or the thoughts. And then being mindful about the mental objects, right? Like such as concepts and ideas and thoughts. So these 4 foundations of mindfulness, in the beginning, the Buddha teaches us how to be tranquilized. Okay, how to concentrate your mind. For an example, if you refer to Kayanupassana, the first practice of Kayanupassana is Anapanasati, or the breathing meditation, being mindful about the breathing. So the Buddha doesn't dive into the deep end at first to realize the true nature or the impermanence nature of the breath. The first thing that the Buddha says us or instructs us to do is to be mindfully breathe in and mindfully breathe out. Okay? Just be mindful when you breathe in and be mindful when you breathe out. Now, when you do this, your mind will be tranquilized. And it has the nature of bringing the calmness and bringing that serenity to your mind. So mindfulness will lead you to practice the samadhi. Samadhi means the tranquilized nature of your mind, peacefulness in your mind. And also, as the final practice, it is the prajna or the panya in Buddhism. Prajna or panya is the realization of the true nature of life, realization of the 3 marks of existence in life. So what are the 3 marks of existence in life? First one is anicca, the nature of impermanence. Second one is dukkha, the nature of unsatisfiedness or the nature of suffering. And the third one is anatta, the nature of non-self. Now, to do this, to realize this true nature, you need to have a good wisdom. To have a good wisdom, you have to have a good practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness helps you to focus your mind into one part of your life, and it's very easy to realize the true nature, the impermanence nature, once the mind is mindful and tranquilized. It's something like this. Let's say you're traveling in a train, okay? And you see all the sceneries in a very fast paced, and it's more like a motion blurred version. We don't see the real images, okay? Everything is blurred. So to realize and to see what the real nature and the real sceneries of around us, what we have to do, we have to get down from the train. We have to come into one place and to see and to enjoy that one nature of the life. So to do that, what we have to do, we have to come into one place and to focus on one thing at a time. To do that, the mindfulness helps us. And finally, how mindfulness helps us to practice the wisdom or the prajna. So the prajna is the ability to realize the true nature of our life. The true nature of our life is the impermanence. And the true nature of the existence is these three marks of existence: the impermanence nature, and the suffering nature, and the non-self nature. So to realize these three natures, what we need to have a tranquilized mind and a well-focused mind and a good awareness. So practice of mindfulness will help us to bring the awareness to our life. So that will help us to bring more wisdom and to see the life in a more wiser way and a more profound way by practicing the mindfulness. So this is how the practice of mindfulness helps us to be more productive in Buddhist practice. So let's all practice this amazing practice of mindfulness in our life.